Hello, everyone. Welcome,
Hello.
Hi guys.
Karl.
Nice to see you all again, and Karl.
Yeah, it's been a
All the
minute,
way
lads.
from minus 12 degrees.
No, it's not minus 12 C here today. It has
No.
been. It's only like 1 degree C. Or
It's still cold.
for anybody tuning in from my new homeland, that's like 35 Fahrenheit or some nonsense. So,
Oh, you do that already? Like Fahrenheit and.
well, if I want to talk to anybody about the weather here, I gotta tell. I can't say, oh, it's like 1 degree outside. That they have a panic attack because it's not to them.
It's funny. Still
Anyway.
talking about the weather. You can't take the
I can't. It's
British,
the
Irish out of you.
Why is that? Is that a UK thing where you talk about? the
Oh
weather?
yeah.
Well, the small talk in the UK, gradually gets. How was your weekend? It was all right. That rough weather, right? It's like, I mean, that's small talk in the UK, right?
That wind.
Great. I had to chase my bin down the street, that sort of stuff.
I have to show you a video one day of a bin actually going down my street because of the wind.
Anyway, this isn't why we're here.
There we go.
You may have to cut this bit out, Wesley.
No, we're gonna leave it in.
No,
We're gonna leave it in.
It's in.
It's just a cloud native end of the year, I guess.
Yeah.
We're
Good to
gonna
see you,
talk-
lads.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
you too. It's been a long time.
We missed you. We missed you.
It's like we've gone back in time, though, because you've got a printer behind you as well.
Listen, I have kids of school age who need to print stuff. And yeah.
I've got print.
Coloring in and stuff.
Yeah, it's good to print. I got to print the Bluey and Bingo coloring pages for kids.
Talking of Bluey,
Yep.
Bluey movie's on its way out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I want to go see that. Wesley, stop shaking your head.
Does it run on Kubernetes?
Probably.
I mean, maybe. I mean, the probably the video rendering does right enough.
Mm.
So, I actually saw a video of how that works. Was that KubeCon Amsterdam where they
ADHD,
did a video on that?
Yeah, I think it might have been KubeCon Amsterdam. I think I remember it was an NVIDIA talk on one of the keynotes, if I remember right, about the streaming of the media content. Yeah, it was a really good one. You dragged me along and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right. So Cloud Native end of the year. We're going to do a little retrospective and talk about what happened in the world of Cloud Native this year. And obviously looking forward to what's going to happen next year.
Yep.
And for me, that started with, I'm just going to throw out some popular and unpopular, knowing me, probably unpopular opinions.
Yep.
And then we're going to chat about it. So for me, it started KubeCon Paris. We went there. Well, Richard and I, Karl didn't.
Karl's been busy with many other things this last
Karl's
12
been
months.
very busy.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're excused. You're excused.
Thanks. Appreciate that, lads.
But it was AI.
We'll see you at London.
Yeah, we'll see you in London. You're going to come to London?
Yeah.
Well, I still work for a client who's in London, so if I can swing a visit to them in the same time that KubeCon's on,
you
then
should.
I think that's a wise choice.
Yeah.
I haven't asked permission yet, but
Okay, let's AI. KubeCon Paris, beginning of the year, it was AI. And then for me, it started actually with Kubernetes 10 years. Kubernetes, KubeCon Paris, their big show, Kubernetes 10 years old, all that. So that happened this year. Only 10 years. Such a mature product. Only 10 years. It's 10 years. That's a lot of releases, actually.
Especially in the cloud native world, that's a lot.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely. We also have Dapper 5 years this year as well.
Oh wow, that's impressive. I didn't realize Dapper was 5 years old.
Yeah, we had Dapper Day a while
and
ago.
it graduated as well.
Yeah.
Was good.
But it started with AI, right? So you have AI in Kubernetes, and for me, throughout the year, it became AI is running on Kubernetes. Beginning of the year, I'm like, oh wow, I'm in the cloud native space. I do Kubernetes and then a lot of AKS and Azure. What's happening with AI? Do I need to get into that space, or am I missing out on something? I almost had some FOMO, like, oh yeah, what's happening? Throughout the year, that changed. I think, especially Microsoft and the AI toolchain operator, Kaido, has proven that, it was already released last year, but it has proven that AI stuff runs on Kubernetes, and going forward, that use case will be much, much bigger.
Yep, and
If-
it's
oh,
just got accepted into the CNCF
Yeah.
landscape
yes,
as
that's
well,
right.
sandboxed, which is really cool to see. I love that Microsoft are giving all these tools that they create away to the community. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's so much coming out of those. Is it the incubation labs?
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
one I don't even think came out of the incubation. I think it just came out of Microsoft as a whole.
Right.
See a need for it, build it, donate it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going fast. I did a talk at an AI conference like last week about Kubernetes, and the use case. And if you ask me, you've got Azure OpenAI Service and Azure AI Foundry, and it has a lot of features, but it's still like any other platform as a service or software as a service offering. You're given something, and you can use that something and bend it and to your will and make it do whatever you want. But then you want to step outside the sandbox. You want to be creative. You want to explore different use cases. Maybe you don't even need all the big stuff. Maybe you need a smaller language model, or you need smaller models in general that you use yourself or train yourself. That's when Kubernetes comes in.
Yep.
What
Now
Kubernetes can do?
are they called SMLs instead of LLMs? SLMs or
SLMs. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I'm
that's
Trying
the
to work
thing.
that out. There's
I,
like
I, I was following a
dyslexia
session.
going a bit weird there.
Yeah, well, we're ops people, right? And for
Yep.
developers and AI engineers, SLM is small language model. For me, service level management. It's like SLM. What? All right.
There we go.
Oh, good book, by the way.
I've got a copy of that over there.
Yep.
But you can control GPUs, and you can do time slicing, multi-instance GPUs. It's in AKS, even supported out of the box. You can have it installed for you. Then you need the specific SKU in Azure, the NVIDIA stuff, and then if you look at all the new GPUs being released, Azure is really at the forefront of deploying that hardware in the data centers for us to use. I think there's going to be a very, very big use case for software companies building their own models, smaller models, hosting their smaller models, and you want to do that on Kubernetes because that's much cheaper and much greener than getting the big stuff.
I mean, this stuff feels like it was the building your own models or training your own models. This feels like it was the cloud is the perfect place to do that because the whole point in the cloud is just being smart enough, working smarter, not harder, and being smart enough to only pay for what you're using, right? And then if you add the capabilities, the out of the box capabilities, and the capabilities you get with bringing in lots of other CNCF projects, is you get that greener, that more agile, that faster, slicker experience by running these things on Kubernetes. So you're going to effectively save even more money than what's the alternative? Running this stuff yourself with ridiculous expensive hardware or
which will go out of date quickly, and
Yeah.
then you have to write it off.
It really, it feels like we're at the right time for this sort of tech to be, coming to the fore because we're in the cloud. We've been in the cloud for a good number of years now. We know, or any consultants, engineers, or whatever that are worth their salt know how to get the best out of the cloud at the lowest cost point, and then add Kubernetes to that mix to run this stuff on, and you're flying really.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I think we're just at the start. It's the tip of the iceberg. What we've seen with custom AI stuff on Kubernetes, and I really, really see Microsoft investing a lot in that. So big future. Something else: the software supply chain and security.
Ooh.
We've seen all of that this year.
Yeah, we have, and even at KubeCon North America, they had a section on the keynote. Microsoft, one of the ACR guys, was actually at the keynote talking about it all with like copacetic and making sure your stuff's updated, patched. You know where all your packages are coming from and stuff like that. So yeah, it's we're seeing a massive push in the security front at the moment, and I'm loving it.
And we're seeing a lot of that functionality now get built directly into ACR, right? The likes of copacetic, and I mean the Defender for Cloud stuff, the Defender for Kubernetes or Defender for Containers or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Is able to dip into your running containers as well as the stuff that's in ACR.
Yeah, it can do binary drift detection,
which
is really cool.
It can do that, but then you've got your is it your copacetic or Copa that's built in now as well that can do the patching of this stuff as well. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it uses eBPF technology as well now, so you can even Microsoft Defender for Containers, as it's called. It can even use it does use Inspector Gadget and can help you do all of that stuff behind the scenes as well. So there's some really cool stuff being brought together to make security easier.
Yeah,
which is cool.
But for me, between the KubeCon Paris and KubeCon North America, in KubeCon Paris, we went to the Azure pre-day. We're talking about Copa's release, and it's a command line tool, and you can do GitHub Actions and Copa and Inspector Gadget and all of other stuff that was still like early release stages. And hey, play with it. It's new. 6 months later, built into ACR, Azure Policy supporting a modified version of Gatekeeper, supporting more features on AKS.
Yeah,
that's 6 months. That's quick.
Yeah, and I was talking to you guys the other day about an article that I'm still to finish about moving at the speed of cloud native, and that is Microsoft and the open source teams that are working on these projects putting their money where their mouth is. Really, I mean, that's moving at the speed of cloud native because nothing waits. So I mean, to be able to get that into ACR, even if it is in beta or pre-release or preview, sorry. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, and we'll continue to see that going into 2025. Things will move very, very fast. That's why, without standing on the soapbox and banging the drum for cloud native specialist consultancies. But that's where the benefit of that sort of organization is, because the more enterprises and the more software houses adopt things like AI and want to run Kubernetes, the more they're going to want that specialist knowledge, because it is difficult to keep up. It's difficult for us who live in it day in day out to keep up at times. So,
definitely is. But what I do like is that these companies are making security not a second thought now, not a day two operation. They're bringing it to the forefront, making it day one, making you think about it as you build your applications, as you build your products and stuff like that. So it's a good change. I think once Karl wrote an article about shifting left, and I think maybe we have shifted left already.
I think I wrote that for Intercept.
I think you did, yeah.
It was a long time ago at this stage. But yeah, I mean, that's the continuous thing, right? I know in the DevOps culture and the continuous integration, continuous improvement, continuous all of the things. It's all
continuous
it's all
everything.
It's all
continuous things.
Yeah, it's all an infinity loop, right? So we're going to continue to see that, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to push as much of the quick wins, the security left as possible, so that we're not, we're catching things before they, we're preaching to the converted, I suspect, but, catching a lot of things early on before they get out there and become problems. And the more the cloud providers like Microsoft with ACR and with Copa and all of that are able to do that, the easier the on-ramp is to adopt this sort of technology.
Well, they're making it easier as well. And I think end of 2023, I did a series of blog posts on Copa, Notary, the container image signing, the whole process. Maybe it was beginning this year. Yeah, it was before KubeCon Paris.
It was before Paris, yeah.
And now we're at the end of the year. And all of that stuff, I no longer need to deal with the complexity of using notation and certificate management. I've got Azure Key Vault, notation, Azure Policy, Gatekeeper, all managed by Microsoft, and then Copa and ACR. So now it becomes a next finish, clickety click. I mean, don't do ClickUps. ClickUps is bad, but it's more people can use it. You don't need to be that expert that studied for a couple of months to understand all the different concepts to implement it. You can now just do it. There's no reason not to. All right. So platform engineering.
Yeah, platform engineering. So Radius came out of the incubation team from Microsoft, which is really cool. Now has a portal using Backstage, another open source tool, which is cool to see. But it's sort of, I feel it sort of died a bit. Like the buzz around platform engineers sort of died a bit this year. It was the buzz at KubeCon Paris, but then there wasn't much about it at KubeCon North America. I think the idea is still there, but like that buzz has gone. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just the circles that I live around. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're terribly wrong. I think I mean, maybe it's not that it's died. Maybe it's just become how we do things, and we're not really focused on the fact that it's different. Because I mean, platform engineering. I mean, it's DevOps infused sys administration and automation, right? Well, the pitchforks will be coming for me next, but it's a lot of the same stuff that we're already doing, but trying to do it smarter, trying to do it, quicker, more agile, more efficient, and trying to improve the end user experience, right?
The end user being the developer in this case.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
trying
it's a sysadmin doing their job in a modern world.
Yeah, I mean, is it not? I'm completely barking up the wrong tree here. Are the pitchforks outside the door currently?
No, they're still coming, but
yeah.
It's just taking them a little while to get to you from the Netherlands.
Right. But I mean, am I wrong? I mean, is this just the stuff that we've been doing only with its DevOps culture infused, its DevOps tooling and methodologies infused? It's got that. It's all that we've been doing for many years because we're all a bit older, me more than you guys. But it's all that we've been doing already, only smarter, more agile.
Yeah.
With that mentality or mantra of work smarter, not harder. Sorry, Richard.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is, like, if I think about it, back in the day, I used to package applications up, MSI files, MST files, and stuff like that to allow my end users to easily deploy it. And then I'll give them a nice little utility where they could go and download it from and install it safely into their computer. This was part of SCOM, I think, System Center Operations Manager. Yeah, back in the day. And, that is a platform. That was platform engineering. We were giving the developer the tools to do their job, to install their software on their server, like Java or whatever it was. Now, instead of just a bit of software for the developer to install, it's a whole cloud infrastructure. So, we've been doing it for years. They finally called it platform engineering instead of just sysadmin work.
Because I think the scope has widened, because we have all been that. What is it? Can I say this? That bastard operator from hell, back in the day where
the register I used to read that was good.
But we've all been that, or been that grumpy sysadmin or that grumpy security admin who doesn't want to do things, doesn't want to help the damn developers over the fence, right?
But loves to say no.
Yeah, we've all got a lot closer, and that's what that's why I keep banging on about that. The books over there, but that DevOps infused, functions. That's what's created all of this. Now the scope has changed, and we're actually we're thinking as platform engineers, former sysadmins, or whatever it is, we're thinking about the in this context, end user equals developer, right? But that your colleagues' experience using the things that you're building, it's not just I'll do it when I'm done, we'll get to it, and you'll be happy with it. You want to try, and because you're trying to operate at this scale now, you want to make that as life as easy as possible for yourself. So you automate the life out of it, automate to the nth degree, create some pretty portals with Backstage or whatever it is you're using. And you try and abstract yourself because you've other work, more interesting work to get focused on, like the R&D we were talking about before the show. So I mean it's still the same sort of idea, only the focus on what a good job looks like has changed, I suspect, and that's because of people like this crowd here, breeding that culture of I mean, effectively working. I've said it about 10 times on the 20 minutes we've been recording, but work smarter, not harder.
Yep. My old mantra as a sysadmin was, what was it? No, I can't even remember what I was going to say. Least admin effort.
Yep.
Least admin effort. And platform engineering, there's a bit of admin effort at the start to get your recipes or your infrastructure sorted, your best practices, but afterwards it's repeatable. You don't have to worry too much about it. Then you might need to do an update every now and again. Least admin effort. You don't have a developer putting in tickets constantly saying, "Oh, I need this, I need that, I need this. You did this wrong." And like, no, it's just you go click a button or run a command, and I don't even need to be involved.
And the
Least admin effort.
From a platform engineering perspective, and we'll probably get off this topic in a minute, but the platform, from a platform engineering perspective, you're wanting to have everything in a fashion that you can just set it up and walk away, that you're not, you can ephemeral, right? That's the word I was looking for. You're wanting to make this stuff as ephemeral as possible. You want your devs and your QAs or whoever needs an environment just to go, click a button or throw an API. I mean, if you don't want to build pretty UIs or whatever, throw a JSON payload at an API and away it goes and does what you needed to do. I mean, you want to make these things as ephemeral as possible. And
definitely,
again, I can hear the pitchfork coming, but we've been here before, and we're just doing it better. And that's the whole point of the iterative, continuous improvement. Every time around that infinite loop, we've learned some lessons and we're changing some things and we're doing it better this time around.
So basically, we're still doing continuous improvement. We just moved and called it DevOps and then call it platform engineering, and maybe we'll call it, unicorn operations next year.
Listen, DevOps was never a job title. I can hear the
it was. It shouldn't have been, but it
shouldn't have been. But here
Please.
come more pitchforks for me.
Yeah.
But DevOps is never dead. But it was just never the job title. It was the culture and the methodology that bred all of this other stuff.
For me, it's now we call it platform engineering, and then we have the product mindset, which is one of the principles of platform engineering, and then the product mindset being let's developer self-service. For me, that is servicing the developer is one thing. In the end, what it comes down to is, I think it was in 1984. You had
before
porters.
we were born. Maybe not you, Karl, actually.
Not Karl. Karl was like 20 back then. But you had porter's value chain. This is a marketing concept. You have a value chain where for years what we've been doing is, especially as managed service providers, let's provide a service to a software company or to end users, to anyone. But we will be here, and then you would have a value chain where they try to add value for their end customers. So you've got a software company building something, adding features, value for their end customer. We as ops people often are on the left side, not even part of that value chain. We deliver something, we provide input, but what you want to do, and that's for me, that's product mindset. You want to be part of that value chain together with those developers, whether that's an external company, whether that's a different team within your enterprise. You all want to be working on adding value to whoever is using the product. That's what your goal needs to be. And if you call that platform engineering, whatever, I don't care. That's what you need to be doing. If you do that, you'll be successful.
100%. And, without, going on about these books again, what you're just talking about is exactly what the Phoenix Project is about. Exactly what the Unicorn Project is about, is not treating IT and that as just a cost center, but realizing that IT and your techies and your devs and all of the rest of it are so integrated into what you need and your success as a business that doing exactly what you've just been talking about, Wesley, is making them part of that value chain.
I mean, we're still grumpy IT people, but we have coping
100%.
mechanisms now. Just cope with it differently.
Instead of denied, it's now yes.
Yeah. We just do that. We just every line I just smash my desk and go return. All right. So we've had platform engineering. And then we also saw, and I mean, we're already 25 minutes in. We just talked about, so I'm afraid to say, we've seen an increase in adoption of things like Azure Container Apps, and then, but also I hold dear to my philosophy where AKS in the end is always the answer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
What's happening here?
I've used, as you guys know, I've used an awful lot, and I mean an awful lot of Azure Container Apps this year.
Mhm.
But at the
Yeah.
smaller scale, as I was saying before the show, and I know you guys, I know your opinion on container apps and stuff is well covered, but I think the ease of use and the on ramp and the lack of learning curve, or the abstraction on top of the abstraction, that
Mhm.
is AKS, makes the use of container app environments and container apps, you know, really easy. It's really compelling.
For day one,
Until
maybe.
yes, until in my opinion, and there's lots of pitchforks coming from me at this stage, but until, in my opinion, you get to any sort of decent scale, because especially if you're working with an enterprise and you're trying to keep the container environments internal and have them on the private networking, each one of these, have some separation between environments. I mean, sometimes, I mean, in one of the use cases I've been working with this year, I mean, we've got tens of container environments, each with their own subnet. So I mean, when you're talking enterprise networking and enterprise cloud usage and stuff, that can slow you down an awful lot. So I
Mhm.
think at small to medium scale container environments and Azure Container Apps are compelling. Certainly on the journey to, what will as you grow and scale, what will probably end up becoming full blown AKS, in my opinion.
See, now I kind of don't fully agree with that because yes, it
Here
may be
we go.
easier to it may be easier to get into a container or get your container running in a containerized environment like Azure Container Apps. Yes, it might be easier because it's just a bit of Azure CLI, portal adventure, point and click, or infrastructure as code. Hopefully, you're doing that, but you have to go and learn that infrastructure as code if you don't know it already. So it could be easier to learn a bit of YAML. But if you're going into ACA, you have to have your container built.
Yeah.
But ACA doesn't have a nice, easy option and easy onboarding to get you a container. Whereas AKS does have that easy option now.
Go
And
on.
it even will create you your GitHub action or your Azure DevOps pipeline to actually push your container image that it's created for you, uploaded to a container registry for you into AKS. It also creates the Helm chart for you or your Kubernetes manifest file as well. So is that not a bit easier than that? Yes, I know deploying AKS, a secure AKS environment could be trickier, but that's
Mr.
why they have
Hooper.
AKS automatic now.
Yeah, but forgive me, mate. But
Yeah,
you're coming at
I'll get
this
my
as
pitchfork.
as are we all, from years of experience with AKS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your eyes and in our eyes in general, going straight to AKS seems like the logical choice because we know it well. We know what it's capable of. We know how to
But
work it. But if you're a dev that's intimidated, and Kubernetes is intimidating.
it can be, yeah. If
If
you're
you're,
a developer, if you're a sysadmin, I think less so, to be honest.
I think there's a lot of people intimidated by Kubernetes. I don't know that I agree with your last statement, but I'll not be invited back to this show again.
So what I see is when people adopt ACA, they're often not the most pitchforks come in.
Careful.
It could be through pricing or someone else
Mhm.
recommending it, but often when people do the next text finish thing, it's because they don't really have a lot of experience with containers.
Or
What you see,
time, or
what
time to deal with AKS.
time, maybe, but then developers get to a point where they get excited about containers
Yeah.
and they at some point they get containers. They're like, oh, this stuff is amazing. I can do my stuff with memory and CPU. I got control over my disk and I can do persistent storage, and I'm not limited by what other platform as a service offerings provide me with. And then you have a beautiful concept or organization called CNCF with a lot of projects.
Mm-hmm.
That is, to me, that's like my Swiss Army knife, my go-to page. When a customer asks me something, like, can I do this on AKS? I've got continuous workload. This is my question. I rarely have to say no because all that stuff can run on Kubernetes, not on ACA. So when they get containers, they get excited and they want more and more and more. They want to essentially experience the extensibility of what a platform like Kubernetes can provide. They will move, and then that's on to us. We need to abstract away that complexity from them, platform engineering, or give it a name.
Incidentally, I say I've been using a lot of container environments this last year, but I'm also driving the same client towards moving to full blown AKS, even if it's AKS automatic, which I'm sure we'll talk about before the end of the show. But even if it's on the AKS automatic, I'm driving them towards the AKS simply because it would dramatically, actually, believe it or not, dramatically simplify the architecture. You know, and the number of subnets I need for
Maybe some cost savings.
container environment,
Cost saving
environments.
probably as well. But
So-
yes, that learning curve may be a bit higher for Kubernetes, but you've just gone through this massive year-long learning curve of figuring out the limitations of ACA, whereas you could have spent that time learning AKS. And then you could have, at the end of the year, you could have had a more successful deployment product. Or
Yeah,
whatever
I
it is
mean, but
done.
I'm right on that. I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm on that soapbox too. But developers don't necessarily have time, especially at a small growing startup. Don't have time, so they'll get stuff running where it'll run well for them until what we're experiencing. Yeah, until what we're experiencing right now is the scale problems. When you start to scale up.
What would make ACA better, in my opinion, is an option to easily migrate to AKS, because when you're deploying to ACA, you're deploying via Bicep. You've got your container image. You're setting your requests, your limits for the size of your CPU and memory you want your pod to work. You're doing all of the key to auto scaling stuff. So you need a button to say export me the YAML.
But I mean, how difficult is that really? Because all ACA is abstracted AKS, right? It's super abstracted AKS, but
it's a Bicep or ARM endpoint over the Kubernetes API, basically. So you have to try and marry up the two languages, like ARM or Bicep, to your Kubernetes one. But if there was an easy option,
give me a Kubernetes API endpoint into my the underlying container environment,
and then we're good.
Stuff.
Yeah. Or
that means you can start small and then you can use it, like Richard put it very nicely last year. It's a stepping stone onto full-blown AKS, but that requires you to send the same manifests. I mean, and then I can just go, all right, so now different endpoint, different.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you're probably running on a lot of shared infrastructure with the container environment stuff, and obviously there are a lot of security headaches to be solved before they would expose that sort of API endpoint.
For all we know, it could just be virtual clusters. We don't know how it works, but they could just be using virtual clusters on AKS already.
I mean, what I would like to see on that point, what I would like to see Microsoft do, even if they don't expose some API endpoints for us to have a wee poke about with kubectl, right? Just do what they do right now with the ability to export Terraform, ARM, and Bicep from the portal. Just in your container app environment, give me the YAML files, or one big YAML file, because that's possible too, that does all of this, that gives me the container, the deployment, the service, the Dapper or the Kita configuration. Give me all of that in YAML files in the portal where I can just hit download. Now, granted, ARM template export is not a good example, but the Bicep and the Terraform version are, so it's possible that they could expose that sort of stuff to us.
And then you mentioned it, AKS automatic. You just can spin up one of those, put your product on there, your exported manifest, and then you're good to go.
Again, that's another stepping stone on the path to full-blown Kubernetes or AKS. And here's the thing. On this journey that starts with container app environments and ends up in fully blown AKS via AKS automatic, not all customers will go every step of the journey. Some will stop at container environments because that's all they need. Some will stop at AKS Automatic because they want someone to come in and tell them what to think. And that's what AKS is, that opinionated. It's Microsoft coming in and saying, this is what you should do and this is how you should do it. So and you'll lose. Customers will stay where they get comfortable, right? And that's why I quite like the fact that there are now 3, and I'm deliberately ignoring ACI. There are now 3 solid.
Oh, ACI's got a lot of love lately. Microsoft Ignite. So don't
Hang on. There are a lot of solid options on that journey. ACI in my mind, and you can shout at me here in a second, but ACI in my mind is even smaller workloads and more ephemeral and more lightweight and more short-lived than anything you're going to be running on the other 3, right?
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah. But,
okay, thanks.
But there's also there's more than 3 in Azure.
Please don't make me say web apps with containers.
I was going to say OpenShift, Azure Red Hat OpenShift. But yeah.
Oh, you could Azure Functions as well.
Yeah, don't Wesley. No.
Nope.
So I mean, yeah, let's briefly mention there are other Kubernetes runtimes available in Azure. You know, you can. I mean, we're talking about having AKS Automatic as being an opinionated, Microsoft's opinionated configuration of AKS. ARO or Azure Red Hat OpenShift is Red Hat's opinionated Kubernetes implementation. I've looked at it in the last year. It's one of the things I've done this last year was compare the 2 in terms of what we wanted to base with my client, what we wanted to base the group approach to Kubernetes on. And the minimum specs that I was looking at for ARO were just really expensive.
Yep.
But at a bare minimum, the minimum specs you needed are just expensive. And that's not to mention, I don't know how the Red Hat licensing works, but that's not to mention any Red Hat licensing or anything. So the fact that AKS, even if it's full-blown AKS and not automatic, allows you to scale down to 1 system node pool and 0 user node pools and all nodes in node pools, not node pools. But I mean, that just makes, you're not hamstrung by specific SKUs or compute that you must use and stuff like that. It's just, the opinions feel better thought out in AKS, but anyway.
And on that note of AKS Automatic, I think we should mention some of the competition because it is Cloud Native Weekly. So Amazon released EKS Auto Mode.
Yes.
Which
you compared these.
I did a nice blog post and compared these 2, and literally their EKS Auto Mode is just AKS. It looks after all your add-ons for you automatically and puts Carpenter on, so it does your infrastructure for you automatically. So it's basically just standard AKS with node auto provisioning enabled. They've got a long way to go to catch it up, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we're all running the same direction. We're trying to abstract away while maintaining a lot of the functionality. We're trying to get to a place where we're not, because and one of my half written blog posts in the last few months was on AKS Automatic, and one of the reasons I believe that AKS Automatic is popular or will be popular is because of that decision overwhelm at the start, where you're, what am I using? What do I need? How do I configure this? What extra projects do I need? What is GitOps? And the automatic stuff takes away a lot of that. I mean, it eases that learning curve, right? And
definitely.
I think that can only be a good thing. Obviously, we're old hands. We come from the times when physical servers, physical storage, physical networking. So we busting our chops there. And that this automatic SKUs and stuff and taking that decision overwhelm away doesn't negate the fact that you probably need someone that understands the nuts and bolts of these things. Or when you do run into, as long as you stick on the happy path, you're flying. But as soon as you run into problems, you want somebody who understands what's going on under the hood. So I think as long as we continue to balance the easing the developer and the onboarding experience with this stuff and making sure that the ops people aren't forgotten about, that's important as we move into 2025.
Yep, for sure.
And what we just said was Cloud Native Weekly. We got competitors of different clouds as well, and then you start bashing Amazon on how
Yeah.
how,
I just
Pitchfork
know
have
that
changed direction now, man.
they could do so much better, and
yeah, but let's turn it around. Let's turn it around.
I want them to do better.
They gave us something, and then when I talk specifically about AKS and node pools, because you know where I'm going.
Yep.
In 5 years' time, well, 5 years is a long time in IT. In 5 years, we've got like general AI and Skynet happening and stuff. But
Cylons are coming.
in in a year's time, do we still deploy node pools, or do we focus on specific machines and different SKUs and
Or do we not even care about the machine and we just say, right, my pod is needing this much size, my deployment needs this many replicas of this many thing, hit the API, go get whatever compute I got accessible.
So Carpenter on steroids.
Yep,
Or
just
not,
in time compute. I
yeah.
think I call it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Amazon, Carpenter, they gave us something nice, and
yeah, they did. But it took a lot of persuasion for them to donate it to the CNCF. But they did, and it's good that they did. And they have started to do more open source tools. There's another tool they've got called Crow, which looks quite cool. I need to look into it a bit more. And another feature they have, which AKS doesn't have, and I wish AKS did, is the ability to join nodes from anywhere to your AKS cluster, on-prem, in another cloud, and everything to your
We're
AKS
talking stretched clusters? Stretched?
They call it hybrid
cluster?
nodes.
But effectively.
Did they not also do a local container runtime that you could use, open source?
I don't know about that.
I think I heard something about that. Was KubeCon Amsterdam?
Maybe.
That was like almost 2 years ago. Never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, I'm excited that EKS is giving AWS is giving EKS some more love, because it's been a little while since they've done a big change to it, and it's nice to see that they're going down this automated route, going down this competing again, and I like it.
But I mean, that's the thing we're all Microsoft MVPs right now. Ask us again in July whether that's still the case. But we're talking Cloud Native Weekly specifically on the show, and we made a conscious effort when we were dreaming up the concept for Cloud Native Weekly is that we didn't want to just focus on Azure. We wanted to focus on the other clouds. Now, that tends to be Azure and AWS with a little bit of Google Cloud because they're quiet.
They have actually released something really cool recently, GKE, 65,000 nodes in a cluster.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they got rid of etcd.
Because I need that tomorrow.
Yeah. It's for your AI workloads. You know, the Cylons need this kind of compute to take over.
Cylons don't. Go and watch. If nobody's watched it, go and watch Battlestar Galactica. This has happened before, and it will happen again. Anyway, the point I was trying to make was that the old adage or saying, it might be biblical, and I hope it's not, but anyway, that iron sharpens iron. The competition is good. The fact that Amazon and EKS are doing things, or AKS Auto, and is perhaps encouraging Amazon to do something similar, and what did Google's GKE Autopilot, that sort of stuff. That's all. They're all sharpening each other effectively. Which can
and the best thing is it's all Kubernetes. So if you know Kubernetes, you can pretty much go to any cloud once that infrastructure is there and manage the Kubernetes layer of it. Yeah. There's a few quirks here and there, but it's not hard to pick up those kind of quirks, I think. But that underlying API is going to be the same. The Kubernetes API is going to be the same on all of these clusters. So you can still deploy all your resources. You might need to use tools like Dapper to change it from Azure Key Vault to AWS Secret Store.
But that's that's the whole point of a tool like Dapper, right? Is to abstract. But so your application doesn't really care about what the key store is or what the storage is. I'm interested about that GKE getting rid of etcd. What? Just so they could scale out or get rid of the scale limitations?
I think so. I haven't read the full blog post.
Let's go and read it. I'm interested in what they're using.
I think they're using their Spanner they got Spanner, I think it's called, their database. It's
Right.
kind of like Cosmos DB, but GK's Google's version.
All right. Let's go and read about that.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, we're already 45 minutes in. So
Oh gosh, sorry everyone.
Sorry.
we're stopping with the retrospective
Yes.
of things. Everyone gets one go, and not like 20 minutes, one go. Richard,
Oh.
2025. What are you looking forward to when it comes to cloud native?
Ooh, good question. I am probably looking forward to see the way AI isn't just like Kubernetes isn't just used to run AI, but AI is also running Kubernetes.
You're doing yourself out of a job there, mate.
Mm-hmm. Potentially, but more of like a prompt engineering kind of thing. Think of AI could help you scale quicker and stuff like that. Help you get your monitoring metrics better and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, an assistant, a better assistant.
Assistant. We're not going to say the word. Stick to assistant. Don't go any further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Karl.
I mean, let's stick. Given that I've had a quiet year in terms of being involved with cloud native stuff, with moving house and country and everything, I think I'll stick with what Richard was saying, but go a bit further and say that having AI be able to trawl through your logs and your configurations and all, and be able to recommend good configurations, or be able to tell you where you're maybe overlooking something, and that continuous performance improvement. I'd like to see that sort of stuff mature a little bit, because we've already got some of it. What is goodness, I've forgotten the name of the tooling now. We already have
AAS GPT.
No, there's already a tool set within Kubernetes that helps you right size if you don't have limits and request limits on your workload. It already helps you set some and recommend some. Yes, but I'd like to see that advance with the power of sort of AI infused intelligence.
Yeah, that's
smarts.
Cool.
Nice.
And Wesley?
Me?
Yeah, can't let you get away with this.
Azure Local.
Interesting.
Nice.
And
what is Azure Local for the people who don't know?
Was Azure Run Local. So every time Microsoft comes up with something like this, like every Ignite, I keep saying, "Oh, this is what Azure Stack should have been."
Well, that's what it is.
HCI, it is.
But it's driven. It can run Kubernetes. You've got a local APIs for free. For me, hybrid Kubernetes AKS is becoming a thing with Azure Local. Before that, for me, it wasn't. What I'm seeing now and what they're pushing, that I find it very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, I also really like AI, and then especially running on Kubernetes. I mean, imagine having your local, because you no longer need the very expensive certified hardware. You can have cheaper or less. I mean, we're saying you can have a less expensive hardware, but if you look up the specifications, that's still not that computer that you've got running in your mom's basement, right? It's still
Ignite. There was a nice little Dell box on the desk, and it was 10 grand. And it had like 2 computers inside it.
But I mean, what did Azure Stack cost when it first came out? Like, you needed 2, right? That was
a lot of money.
And what excites me about that sort of stuff is, and again, we were talking about that before the show. We didn't get to it. Was what really excites me about cloud native and Kubernetes and stuff is the ability to help software providers and ISVs be able to run their stuff anywhere, to not have them. I mean, obviously there is a certain amount of lock-in depending on what services you pick, but the ability to effectively run their software and their platforms and their applications anywhere. And Azure Local Kubernetes, actually Azure Local Enable Kubernetes is what I assume it's called, will help with that as well. So
I mean, this is not like jumping on the bandwagon. And I mean, if people want to come with pitchforks and whatever other medieval stuff you come up with, be my guest.
I should have started selling pitchforks before this episode.
You should have. But I'm saying it now. Talk to me in 5 years. Clouds are built on Kubernetes. Hybrid clouds are built on Kubernetes. In 5 years, people will go, "Oh, Kubernetes bandwagon." Talk to you in 5 years.
Hey, like Microsoft Office uses Kubernetes. Microsoft Teams uses Kubernetes.
There's so much that so
not
many things are
necessarily
running
good.
Kubernetes we don't even know about it.
Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox. I can guarantee you, every person in the world has probably accessed an application. Maybe not every person in the world, because some are like babies and don't have access to the internet and stuff. But whoever can access the internet has probably accessed a website or used an application that is running on Kubernetes. It's everywhere.
Ubiquitous is the word you're looking for.
Yes. Thank you, Karl.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting year with AI. Another contribution I did for Festive Tech was talking about what the security landscape looks like in the next year. And I think, particularly from a cloud native point of view, we were talking about supply chains and stuff like that. The rise of AI and AI enabled attackers will certainly make the next 12 months interesting from a cloud native perspective.
And then at some point, we'll be shocked when quantum computing is becoming a thing.
More of a thing.
Talk about security. That's going to be interesting.
Game changer.
All right. Not for now.
Yeah, on that bombshell.
Yeah.
Maybe we should end now.
We're out of
Thanks,
time,
bye.
but maybe we should plug Festive Tech Calendar and tell people to go to festivetechcalendar.com and
Yes.
click on the link to donate to Beats and Cancer Charity in Glasgow, Scotland.
Yes.
So do that, please, if you can afford it.
Yep. Do what Karl said.
Always do what Karl says.
That's not necessarily a good idea.
He'll find you with a pitchfork, otherwise he's going to have a lot of them.
I'll let you know if I survive the night. They're coming for me. So
Nice.
And well, thank you for having us, Festive Tech.
Yeah.
And everyone, thank you for watching.
Thank you.
see you next
Good
year.
day.
See you on next.
Bye-bye.
Bye.